What's up, y'all? We are live. We're back. Well, let's play some chess. So it's 10:56 p.m. here on the East Coast. January 1st. Happy New Year. New arena will be starting in 4 minutes. I think we have time maybe for a quick 3-0 game. In the meanwhile. Oh, let's get that rating back over 24 if we can against Maximich 26. That's intimidating. That sounds Eastern European. Not as intimidating, though, as the Bushgas Gambit. Declined. Maybe accepted now. Knight takes e5. We can lead to some fun stuff. Might just face simple d3. Castles looks like declining, but let's play this sharp knight takes e4 theory here. Give me one moment as I send this link around. So my opponent thinks on what to do. A few options here with d4. Knight takes e5, queen e2. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you all. I streamed yesterday, the 31st, and I streaming today, the 1st. 2 straight days, 2 different years. Oh, bishop takes f7 was played. Wow, my opponent donning the Gambit glasses. This does not work. This does not work, but we need to be careful. Typically, the way to deal with these is f8, as I understand it. f8 is the sweet spot, not e8 to be on the e line, or e7 to be on the e line, or also to like give a check. Not g8 such that like a queen getting onto this diagonal can checkmate you, but rather queen f3, you have knight f6, so it's the most out of the way spot. I've half a mind to put my bishop on d6, even though that's really like not where you want to be, because I really want to make this trade. Is this a bad idea? I think this is okay, and potentially even smart defensively. It's a bad idea in terms of blocking queen f6, but queen h5, like, I can still parry that with queen e8. I think nothing was wrong with bishop b6 either. So yeah, knight f6, well, yeah, okay, we can't get mated. My idea was queen e8. I think everything's fine, honestly. And now we just come back. They just don't have enough. They have the one pawn, but we can just drive them back. So that's what we'll do here. d6, bishop g4, knight c6. My king is safe. And this is just not enough compensation at all. Bishop g4, queen takes b7, queen c6 is playable. It's also just not necessary, though. Nothing wrong with knight c6. This is 3-0, so I'll pick up the pace. A good deal. Knight b5, that's actually a very sensible try. Seems bothersome, but bishop g4 is a good move to throw in here. It also protected d4 for a second, but I think something like queen d7 now makes a lot of sense. To hold c7, overprotect this bishop, so that if anything were to happen to this knight, we'd be okay. Bishop e2 is also a nice idea, potentially. Trade, I don't know. My next move is, yeah, it was probably just a6. Get this guy out of my face, and now maybe queen f5 now that I don't have to deal with this. And now if the queen were to dodge me, my idea is that I would take. So let's make that trade happen. Get those queens off the board. Knight d4 seems a little annoying to defend. My bishop on e7 is not so hot. But honestly, it's okay. 5. Yeah, I gotta watch out for like h3, g4, but we're able to make that trade at this moment. think we're okay within this line. Oh, maybe f3 could be a problem. h3 I think was okay, because my idea was take and use the e2 square. Use the e2 square. Bishop h5, there was g4. Still, I had this idea. Oh, knight f4. Oh, that's annoying here. Yeah, knight g6 I have to contend with now. Knight e6 was played instead. I think now we're good. We just need to be fast. Yum, 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 yum. This pawn should just go, honestly. Now the knight should just get to a spot to support the journey. This is hanging now a little bit. I think this is quite winning, actually, still. I should have protected that. Yeah. Okay. This is winning still. I should have saved this extra pawn. But I think the knight, I don't know how is it going to be able to stay there and sacrifice itself. Okay, regardless. Good win. Really pushed it there. Let's play some 5-0. I'm late joining this arena a little bit. It's 11:03 now. A few minutes after, but we're exactly 2400. Hello, chat. Happy New Year. Hello, David, Bunny, Eric, Team Shrew. Played Epic Von Hennig Gambit. Oh, someone else screwed up a Von Hennig. Good news, bad news. Gotta take the good with bad. Ooh, Queen H5. Good move. Let's Gambit this pawn. Huge fan of 4-move checkmates. I'm a huge fan. I think gambiting this pawn is honestly the best way to play against a 4-move checkmate. But I think bishop e2 d3 is actually a solid way to play against this in turn. Let's see what we can do to try and open the center as quickly as possible. So my idea is I'm just going to try to play rook e8 and do the rook here. I like just playing knight f6 because it really messes up 4-move checkmate people who just want to play bishop c4 next no matter what. But I think this was a solid way to do it. Okay, queen g3, bishop h6. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Okay, they weren't actually playing defense. Bishop e2, the only purpose was to stop knight h5. Don't let your dreams be dreams. You can always checkmate. What if I take it? Bishop h6? What are we doing there? Nothing smart. Rook e8. I think this makes some sense. Maybe I should play king h8. Maybe this is like actually a good idea. Alright, I'm going to play rook e8. So that bishop h6, I'll meet with bishop f8. Oh, e5. Maybe this was clever. This guy's got some clever ideas. Well booked up in 2 queen h5. Okay. It's kind of annoying. Can I sacrifice this somehow? The bishop on e2 is doing a really good job. Just kind of shielding that king. It doesn't make any sense to give this. Does it? I feel like I really want to just do it. Makes no sense at all. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. We're just gonna give it up. We're just gonna sacrifice that piece. Okay, bishop can't move because of b2, and I just want to kind of play knight d4, attack this bishop, play attack there. I was tired of being the one moving out of the way. I don't even think I had moved out of the way once, but I was already tired of it. So, alright, now this knight's moved. Now I can attack here. It stopped knight d4, but your problems are just beginning. Queen e7 attacking here. Oh no, castles. Oh no, castles, queen takes e2, rook e1. You don't have that, because I can take it, knight takes, rook, and take on e1. So you can't just give it. You can't play knight c3 to defend it. My bishop will take you. Bishop e3, I play d4. Oh, they're just giving this. Yeah, I mean, how else do you defend this? Knight g1 was the only way. It's kind of interesting. It was really not clear. It was just not really clear how white should play it. It's kind of interesting. I'm sure Stockfish will hate it. I'm a million% sure. But yeah, so there's no rook e1. It looks like it could trap the queen or something, or even if the queen had a square, then it would win on e8. But I can take it, takes, and rook takes checkmate. If the rooks were coordinated, then this rook would add an extra defender. Alas. So bishop d2 makes a lot of sense for that reason. Threatens rook e1. And on bishop d2... Ooh, I have a devious little trick. What if I do nothing? Then rook e1, then I play knight d4. Ooh, William, that is devious. Then takes, knight takes e2, check, and I would be up material after that fork. That nasty fork where my knight would land here. And in this position, if they took on d4, then I would take, checkmate. Bishop d2, la-di-da-di-da, I don't even see your threat. Rook e1, knight d4. What if you played knight c3? Oh, they didn't do it. Sometimes I get in my own little world. Okay, knight a3 makes sense defending here. Knight d4, maybe because they saw my idea. No, seems unlikely. Let's develop. Sometimes I just get in my own little world. c7 is an issue. Okay, we're just going to develop. Maybe here. Rook e1, I can still take it. So this bishop's going to come out. But then I want to take b2. But then they play rook e1. Then I hit him with knight d4. c7's been hanging all the while. At this point, I'm just totally fine sacrificing things in general. Rook e7. Yeah, and then go away. Queen d6, I have rook d8. Takes rook e7. Queen f4. I did just give that a tempo. I put my first undefended piece. Queen f4. Yeah, we're even on material. What a game. Bishop e3. That seems like a good move. Rook e1 now could spell trouble for me. Bishop takes b2, rook e1. If I play d4, rook e1, we're still trapped. So I need to take it and sacrifice now. Yeah, now. Oh, well, actually, could they have played rook e1 anyway? Or I would have rook takes f3. Takes, and then I would have the d2 square with the knight gone. Okay, but takes, my idea was queen takes check, and now bishop takes b2. So at that point, after bishop takes b2, I've already collected a bishop and 2 pawns for my rook, right? Everything I just clicked in orange would be collected for my rook. And furthermore, anything from the fork is a bonus. But king h1 was the best way to do it, not queen f2, not rook f2, because they have rook e1 here. So rook e1 is a really nice way to get out of the fork, and then potentially their rooks and queen are doing pretty well, aimed generally towards my king. Rook b1, not as good of a choice. That just gives me this, yeah? And now I think we just should patch up a little bit. Bishop d6 makes a lot of sense. Defending c7 from potentially brutal invasion that would have attacked a lot of things and caused back rank problems. So nice move, getting... I mean, it does so many things. It's with tempo. It solidifies this. Bishop was doing absolutely nothing. And this queen should go here if she wants to avoid a trade. Now, that I have two pieces and one pawn for the rook, which is a good haul. So queen h4 played here, and now rook e8 makes a lot of sense. Hopefully maybe causing them some back rank distress. Knight g5, just bishop g6 should be very solid. Assuming I don't have, like, some trickier tricks. Some trickier tricks, like what? Like, for example, just playing h6? Rook takes f5, queen e1, checkmate. h6 just creates some luft. You should go right back. Rook takes f5, queen e1, checkmate. Queen e2 could have been played as well. Yeah, things look solid. Bishop g6, like I said, was also fine. Yeah, rook e1 instead of rook b1 could have been a turning point here. I mean, I think I probably should prevent queen takes e7, but it feels like their pieces were in good spots. Knight takes f7. I respect the hustle there. King takes comes with check. I want to checkmate. Queen f4. Queen f4 is actually a really interesting try. I think the best is queen e2. Because now rook takes f5 can't be played. I still have queen e1. Attacking this rook. Nothing obvious to do with it other than just go to like somewhere like g1 or away from hitting this bishop with check. So I can use this moment where rook takes f5 is not check to then collect the knight next turn. Alright, so queen e2, nice little intermezzo there on a tactic that would have otherwise worked check, and then they could have patched here. Yeah, they're just getting checkmated, trade, and rook e1. Could they have tried knight takes h6? Maybe. Pawn takes h6, I think I just play. What happened here? Okay, well, now it's not as effective. This was a good game. I mean, this was a very strong 1500. Very, shout out to my opponent for playing a good game here. Okay, but not shout out to them for just wasting time in the arena. I want to have a look at this. I want to have a look at this opening especially, and just kind of a lot of things that happened in this game. This was a very weird one. One of the stronger... I really underestimated my opponent because they were 1500 and because they played queen h5 on the second move. Did he not have rook e1? If I ever get a game against Will, I'm not taking any of his pieces no matter what. Queen h5. Okay, you can see here my score is 3-0, and I've played knight f6 every time. Actually, I'm on W Grafe as black, as you can see right there. It was a couple 1500s and I guess a 2000. So I played... Yeah, I really recommend this. Because, okay, what they want you to do is they want you to play knight c6 to protect your pawn. And then after bishop c4, okay, they're threatening checkmate here. And, I mean, obviously they want you to blunder this with knight f6 and then checkmate. But, okay, against g6 you can play queen f3. There's actually... I should have played this. I should have played this because I have played this one time. The silly William Gambit is with this move f5. And I can't believe I actually forgot about that in the moment. But it's with this move f5, so it's a really nice counter gambit. Shout out to Mr. Matthew Bader, who put this on my radar. Jonathan Strauss has made a video about this line as well. But it's actually really nice after pawn takes d5. There's lots of fun ideas here with like d5, knight d4. And this could really work out quite well. Pawn takes f5 I think is already a blunder on white's part. So this is actually a nice counter gambit that I would recommend, and I'll actually drop the link to that Lichess study in the description if this video right now goes on YouTube. Another thing I like though is this move knight f6, because after queen takes e5, check bishop e7, I think the idea for black is really straightforward of just castling, playing rook e8 and d5. However, potentially not, because my opponent was clearly well prepared about what to do here. Castles d3, and after d5, probably maybe expecting something like knight c6. Here, basically, black's compensation, they're down a pawn, but their castle has come really quickly. Like, really, really quickly. As quick as it can come in chess on the fourth move. You know? Pawn, knight, bishop, king. And then the next thing you want to do is that if your opponent's king is in the middle, is to play rook e8 and take advantage of that open e line, and there's just a lot of targets here playing d5. but white does a good job patching them up really quickly. Bishop in front of the king so that there's no direct hit there, and then d3. I mean, I think these was a really good choice by my opponent, so guarding that and also opening up both these lines so that they're well prepared, especially if knight c6 comes, but even if d5 comes, I guess, to just play queen g3 right away. And because they're going for bishop h6. I mean, people who play queen h5 love to give checkmate threats, right? I played rook e8 and it wasn't the best. So the best was de4. And what's the strategy to meet bishop h6? Oh, just knight e8. I forgot that you can move pieces backwards. I always like to go forwards and go for them. Yeah, you can move pieces backwards. It's legal too. So d takes e4. Oh, bishop h4. You can just chase this queen right off this file, and you're winning this bishop. These squares are all covered. And with the queen no longer pinning here, you can take this bishop for free. So that's being threatened. Yeah, knight e8. Good move. Good move, actually. And it unveils, actually, a very strong threat. Bishop h4 here, and white is completely out of steam. Because they also, have their own king in the center and nothing really well developed. Yeah, the bishop on e2 covers knight h5, which is generally, a useful parry against bishop h6, attacking the queen and defending here. So, don't forget to move pieces backwards sometimes. That can be very helpful. Rook to e8, e5, and here I played knight c6. It only got one question mark. And it only increased white's advantage by 1.1. So I think you could do a lot worse. For just leaving a knight hanging. For just straight up leaving it hanging in the middle of the board. And honestly, what a practical choice. Okay, white's best move is king d1. Their best move is king d1. Honestly, this pin is really annoying. I was thinking about it. Okay, the position of knight d7. This feels like everything white wants. Bishop h6. Okay, bishop f8 is still a nice way to deal with it. There's pressure here, yes. Like knight c6. And if they play d4, maybe I can play c5. Maybe like knight b4. Something like this can still be like really annoying. Like I'm playing bishop f8 and I'm trying to attack all these things. But so there is some compensation here, and it's okay. Saying f6, it's saying like c5 here, but okay, they're gonna castle. I didn't want to allow that, right? With this move, knight c6 takes bishop takes f6. This bishop does a great job. It guards g7. I mean, don't try this at home, but okay, maybe try this at home because yeah, the bishop's just guarding g7, so this is totally frozen for one, right? Because of the pressure on b2. Knight c3 is never going to directly help with the hits on e2, right? So you see here knight f3 played as the most natural choice, and immediately it's just a huge blunder because there's no way to guard this bishop, right? Knight c3, the pressure here becomes overwhelming, and so you might get a sense that yeah, it's not really possible to castle if you can't move this bishop and you can't move this knight. Then it's not really possible to castle. And then the other issue is that knight c3, okay, it is playable because king d1 is the best option. But knight c3 runs into knight d4 if you no longer have knight a3 as a response. There's just no way to guard c2. So there's a kind of a number of issues here with the queen having left home, that c2 becomes a problem, and the defense of e2 likewise becomes insufficient. You can also imagine with the queen still home, potentially in this position, well, okay, it doesn't quite work here. Rook e1, queen takes d1. There's no rook takes e8 checkmate there. The queen would pin here. But ideas like that could work, or at least there would be more fortification of this bishop, and, you'd be able to give it a shot. Here, yeah, bishop e3, I had d4, so, I'm winning my piece back and more. And yeah, I mean, this bishop's just a monster. It just guards g7, so, that's the one big idea. That's the only point of the queen being here. And yeah, it's sniping this way. Knight c3 is not going to help. It's kind of tough stuff. Like, I'm just playing queen e7 next turn, and I'm just going to tell you to deal with it. King f1, I think, also makes some sense. Okay, but you have to play some defensive moves like this, and then, I don't know. a5, nice move. Okay, thanks, Mr. Fish. Look at that. That's an idea. Pile up. I don't know. Give me this position. Plus 1.3 being down a whole piece. Give me that position. All right, knight f3, queen e7, and now we get our piece back. So now it's just equal. It's just straight up equal. Kings are both safe. So yeah, bishop d2, I was talking about this, and then letting this happen. This is what I was talking about during the game. Okay, knight c3 can just be played. But I was talking about this line, rook e1, yeah, knight d4. I wanted to do this tactic during the game, so this would win material with the fork that would end up there, and I took a rook and a queen, they took a knight and a queen, so that I would be winning material. And if knight takes d4, queen takes e1, this is just the kind of stuff that I just daydream about a little bit during the game. Now also threatening to take here and then take e1, or if knight here, take here and then take here. I win material that way. Okay. Daydreaming aside, my opponent played knight a3 to defend this. Knight e5 makes a lot of sense to dislodge this knight because, yeah, bishop f5 allowed them to go here. We did end up making that sacrifice. Bishop e3 I felt was a good choice, but bishop g5 was even more direct. The issue is that it's threatening to take me, and it's also threatening rook e1, trapping my queen. Can I not retreat? Okay, I can, but rook e1 kind of still comes. And yeah, white's position here is nice. Bishop f5 was too la-di-da and lazy of a move. Knight e5 needed to be played to take rook e1 kind of more off the table, trading off for this, and so allowing my queen to remain a monster rather than, you know, tugging her tail between her legs and having to run home to avoid getting trapped. What happened in the game was bishop e3, and then with rook e1 coming, I had no choice but to sacrifice to get her out of there. King h1, bishop takes b2, and yeah, a huge blunder here, as I mentioned during the game, playing rook b1 instead of rook e1, after which the position is pretty balanced. You know, the queen moves somewhere. Okay, this knight needs to run for cover, but I have a bishop and a couple pawns for the rook, but their rooks are good. Their king is safe. Their pieces are good other than this knight. My pieces are pretty good too. I mean, this should be here, and it should be coordinated as well. So kind of an interesting sort of position. I have the bishop pair, but an interesting exchange sacrifice. Yeah, I'm gonna circle back to that f5 line maybe as soon as I finish analyzing here. Rook e8. Whoa, huge blunder on my part. Rook e8 because of rook e1. You gotta watch out for this. If e1 is solid and there's no taking, then you can just lose like this. Especially like if you don't have two rooks. If I had two rooks, then they could defend each other. But rook e1, wow. Oh my goodness. What a huge blunder. Shout out to my opponent for not taking advantage of that. Okay, but then we made this work. Queen e2 was another blunder. Why? I guess they have this. Can defend the rook, defend the first rank, and then keep this coming. Okay. Well, queen f2 was played, and we eventually made our way out of this. So this is a solid way to play against queen h5. This is one solid choice to play against queen h5. However, yeah, play d5 first, so that if queen g3 comes, you can take this and play knight to e8. So play queen d5 first, and if pawn takes d5, I think you're in business. Yeah, knight takes d5, bishop comes to f6, knight c6, or e8. You're going to have a lot of fun tempoing this queen, and you're going to have that open e line without being down a whole piece, which is probably nice. I wouldn't know. But the pressure on c2 should be quite good here as well that the knights can inflict. Yeah, a ton of fun. What I'll probably do next time is this nice fun gambit, the Silly William gambit. I'll be sure to have that on my radar for next time here. I would recommend this. I have a video on this, and so does Jonathan Schrantz. But yeah, f5 is actually really, really fun. After pawn takes, you have this nice move, knight to d4, jumping into the action right away, and you can play d5, and you know you can let this go again. Here we can follow maybe the most common moves here. Queen d5. You just play queen f6 here, takes g6, and just recapture even, and this queen's gonna get driven away with something like c6, d5. You're attacking on c2. That's gonna be a huge problem. Lots and lots of really, really fun stuff. So this is, yeah, this is a fun one. It's not what four-move checkmate players are expecting, because you know probably they're expecting like knight f6, which can also totally be played, and just queen e7, bishop g7, and castles. But if you want to do a gambit, I would recommend either playing knight f6, bishop e7, castles, and d5, or this line here with knight c6 and g6 and f5. I get so entrenched into the analysis that I forget to chat. The chess is just too engaging. Me too. I get so entrenched into my own analysis that I forget to check chat. Dude, I found William's YouTube like 2 weeks ago. I'm obsessed. Aw, that's so sweet. I found my own channel a couple years ago. I'm also obsessed. So I have a lot in common with all you guys. So yeah. Fun stuff here. Subscribe if this goes on YouTube, and be sure to counter Gambit against those four-move checkmate players. Please don't get four-move checkmated yourself. GCRU, baby. Gambit Chads, rise up. Let's get back to this arena that we've played one game in the first half hour. Okay, let's play here. E4. Let's reserve. Let's get after it. Goring. Good guy 213. You can always spot a good guy based on if they say explicitly that they are a good guy. Ladies, take note. I like this idea. I know c takes d4 is the best move, but I like this idea of playing bishop e2, and after knight takes e5, just castling, and trying to put a rook on e1 just as fast as I possibly can. Okay, queen d8 is sensible. Can I play rook e1, queen e2? Well, yeah, let's play rook e1, queen e2. Don't let them castle. Keep that pressure there at all costs. Keep that pressure there at all costs. Let's play cd4. And now bishop e6, I have d5. Okay, they're trying to prepare bishop e6 to prepare castling. We gotta continue to keep these things off the table. What do we got? What do we got? Knight c3, bishop e6, d5, take. They're okay. Bishop g. What if we switch this up a little bit? Bishop g5 here. Take, take. d5. cd, bishop takes. Castles, takes, takes, takes. King h8. What do we think about that? d5 now adds really nothing to all this. I wish my bishop wasn't on such a stupid diagonal. Okay. Bishop g5, bishop e6. I played d5. No, now I'm gonna double this. Oh, I don't have much time. Okay. Let's play bishop h5. Now attacking this bishop with the pin. Seems annoying. Oh, give me that for free. Give me that for free. Should have played king f8, I think, was forced. They had a solid king f8. Okay, I mean, they can still try to hold on. I was trying to zigzag in here, use my other rook, stack them up. Can I just keep munching? Any reason why not? Should have traded queens. The king's still unsafe. I might be up a piece, but I still want to attack. Okay, let's get the Gambit glasses off. We're at material. Rook c1 would have been very sensible there. Yeah. Instead of this, e file isn't the only file on the board, believe it or not. Rook c1 would have threatened take, and knight takes d5, which would have been really nice. I wish I played rook c1. Alright. Daydream later. Daydream now. Let me do it. Let me do it. Let me do it. Let me do it. Oh, it didn't let me do it. Let's do that. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. I'm pinning the pawn again. Let me do it. Please. Please. Oh, no. Yes. Get out of my way. Yes! I did it. One way or another, I chased them into a pin. I chased them into a pin. One way or another. Oh my god, a 6th rank pin. Brutal. Look at that. Oh, now you can't defend this bishop. I control that square. Give me that bishop. Give me that king. GG. That was an interesting game there. Interesting. So, Goring Gambit. Played knight f6, e5. Yeah, I knew it was a mistake. Queen e7. Yeah, I mean, what you want to do against queen e7 is just make sure the queen stays there. Don't give her an opportunity to just, like, kind of trade herself and then get the bishop out. Like, make her suffer right, or make the bishop and the king suffer right there, just in the way at all costs. So d6, yeah, bishop b5. This was a much more logical way to play. Yeah, I mean, I should have played like this. You're also threatening d5 here, potentially, but yeah, castles and get the rook to e1 ASAP, and just good things will happen. I was a little eager and should have started with c takes d4, so I took here, castles, take, queen d8, not a bad defensive idea. I think d6 and here was playable, or d5 rather, and bishop e6 was a little bit more playable, and they're solid enough and could at least castle that way really fast. My opponent playing queen d8 focused on the short castle. Queen takes d4, okay, nice compensation, but this was what I was going for, just to try and stop castling at all costs. Not the top choice according to the engine, but it was practically very strong. So my opponent now trying to play bishop e6 to cover up and be able to play here. But okay, we made this work. Let's get back to this arena. We ended up taking some stuff here. Okay, I mean, this was all winning, and we forked and won. GG. I'm also hoping we see it. I am also hoping we see it. PP in our Pampers, good reference. Alright, oh, we were just talking about for the Von Fafil. You just got it. Let those Pampers be PP'd. Here we go. Gambit glasses on, Von Fafil Gambit. Oh, H6. Okay. E6, do we want our pawn back now that we have a pin? Let's just get our material back, right? Oh no, they didn't want to take it. Let's take it. Wait, so take? Takes, and take C3? Take D8, take D1, take C7, take B2. Let's play Queen 2. Let's see if they want this pawn. I want to recapture knight takes a3, but I don't want... yes. Okay, we got this. But I blocked my bishop d3. I've blocked some of my favorite resources. It's okay. I think, honestly, I like this. I'm threatening d5, potentially, which could be strong. So they're going to castle. Now here we go with rook g1, g4. We're just pushing p, as Hikaru would say. As Hikaru would say. He would, yeah. g4, knight takes. Okay, maybe we start with rook g1, although it makes our idea a little obvious. They're doing the same thing, but their idea is not as good because they have a pawn on h6. And the pawn on h6 plays into my favor very, very well. Because g5 is going to be a hook, and it's going to force a pawn trade there, and we want pawn trades when attacking. We want them. Is this a good move? Take, knight d5. No, don't get distracted, William. This is good. g5. Trade those off, open the file. Pawn trades are good, not only because they eliminate defenders, but because they get rid of blockers. My rook is free. Rook has been gifted a sock. Rook has been gifted a sock. Oh my god, all these captures are tempting. Every one of them is good. Every one of them has their own purpose. Okay. Okay, let's go bishop. Okay, queen g2 though, next move, yeah? What do we got? Bishop h6 we should play. Queen g2 also has ideas hitting here. Can I win that? g6. I don't even want that rook. g6, I'm going to play 85. I think that's very strong. It's got a lot of ideas down here as well to win material. And also the strongest idea of all behind 85 is knight takes g6. But g6, potentially, this is just even stronger. Just screw the material. Bishop takes g6. That is not a good idea. I'm just taking everything now, yeah? I mean, g6 wasn't that bad. I think it was losing, but... You can't take here. Why not? Yeah, knight takes e6. Check. Yeah, g-file just killed him. G-file just killed him. That is in a very, very important principle when attacking. This is hanging. But this is, I think, is even stronger. Just go back to the well. Just go back to the well. This has been hanging for a while. But just the queen and the rook just causing absolute mayhem I've just taken everything in their path, the knight and the bishop and the pawn. There was a knight here, and there was a knight here and a bishop here when we started, and they prepared to lose themselves, trying to stop this absolute wrecking ball. But yeah, king castled on opposite sides, right, means attack, because it allows me to move these pawns up the board without compromising my own king safety, as if they were on the same side, right? These pawns over here stay flat in front of my king, whereas these pawns can go, right? So it's not on the same side of the board. I want to cause maximum openness and mayhem over here, where their king is and my king isn't, right? So that's why it means attack. And as I just figure out the most efficient way to finish this check, and queen g8 should do it. These were both winning equally, I believe. Or g7, I'll take it. It's the only way to keep it going. Okay, GG. Yeah, so it means attack, and the thing is, right, you can actually see this play out exactly. This is a very, very good demonstration of this idea, because them going b4 and my knight just moving out of the way, whether that's to you know, a4 or wherever, that's the end of the road. Like, you play b4, knight a4, okay, what else? What's your next idea? You spent 3 tempi doing this. What's like what next, right? It might have even helped my knight. I'll jump into c5 or something, right? Whereas here, I played g4 and I played g5. The knight can't just jump out the way as if this pawn was on h7, in which case it might have also been a what next situation for me. I would have, okay, maybe tried bishop d3, queen h5, and targeted the pawn on h7, now that I made that knight move. But, okay, the pawn's on h6 means that I can play g5 and really cause a lot of destruction here. I mean, we can have a look at this one real quick. So here we have von Poppel Gambit out of the Scandinavian. If you want to play the von Poppel Gambit every time, just play d4 and then play e4 and like this, right? So bishop g5, we got this exact position. My opponent played an early h6, which is, you know, not super common. It's typically they play this with bishop f5, and then after f3, we have this idea with queen takes f3 to attack here and here. If they played it more how you'd expect, like pawn takes f3, so we had this position, right? My opponent actually just allows me to grab this pawn back. Bishop e7, like, very actually interesting move. But takes, knight takes, what we would do here is we could castle and go for our for this attack. You know what? I think better here, now that I think about it maybe a little bit more, I think better here would honestly be to just play what I did in the game, right? With the pawn on h7, it's a little different, but with the pawn on h6, right? So let me actually be very clear about what I mean, about what's the proper way to attack in this line. So if they played e6 right now, okay, of course this is the best move, but it transposes to a very common French position. But f3 takes. The attack we're going for here with the pawn h7 would be something like this, with queen e1 and queen h4. I think this is probably the best way to go in this line, because now what we've done is we've taken this diagonal before they've had a chance to play bishop f5. We've taken this diagonal. We don't have this pawn on f2, so we're able to play queen e1, queen h4. And we're pressuring on h7 a great deal, so this knight cannot move. Basically, we want to take that knight and then checkmate them on h7. If h6, we could take and checkmate them nonetheless, right? Even if they try to support that knight one more time, we can try to get rid of the knights. Just sacrifice there, take on h7. Okay, so we're going to force them to play g6, and then at some moment, okay, the rooks can jump into the... Here, knight takes e7 is actually winning a piece. But the rooks can jump in, queen h6, like all these nice ideas to attack once you've provoked such a weakness like that. What black needed is to be able to have bishop f5 themselves, because then if we tried the same idea, we don't have bishop on d3, and without that, the queen on h4 really does nothing here, and black is totally fine. The point of this, and why it's so much better than the black Mardemer, in my opinion, black Mardemer is with f3 right away, and all black really needs to know is to put this bishop on f5. I mean, that's not all black needs to know, but play e6, bishop e7. If you trade this, you don't have another light square bishop to attack with. Honestly, with the bishop on f5, they're fine. The point of the von Poppel is to be able to counter this idea. So we play this one move first. We were able to counter this idea of bishop f5 by now having queen takes f3, with the bishop comes there too early, and now we're threatening to both of these things, and there's some very, very fun lines in the von Poppel Gambit on my channel in this position. What happened in the game is my opponent plays h6 very early. When they play h6 very early, now what's going on here. So, for example, if bishop f5 was played, we would still be going to queen takes f3 and attacking here and here. Always queen takes f3 with the double attack if we can, if they jump there too early. My opponent opted to leave the bishop back, so e6. So you would think that would be kind of the same way to attack, and you could do it. The difference is that the bishop's on h4 here. The bishop should be over here on this diagonal to now threaten against this h6 pawn. So queen d2 and a bishop there could threaten maybe bishop takes h6, which could be very, very strong. Not that white still doesn't have compensation here, but there's no real clear plan of attack without the queen coming to h4. If we had this position with the bishop and the pawn here and h6 was played, I would probably either just take the knight or back up along this diagonal. But here we had to, early on, it was played early on enough that we can't just play bishop f4. There would be no point to putting it here. The bishop needs to stay along this diagonal for the pressure. So bishop h4 is played. What we can do instead in this line, if my opponent were to just play pawn takes f3 in the game, is now switch up our plan of attack and take advantage of the fact that they played h6 very early. So for example, now they're castling, we're castling as well, but long ways instead of short ways. Now you can also do this if their pawn is flat on h7. So for example, let's say, you know, this is totally playable. Let's say they play like an d7 or something, some move blocking the bishop. Okay, they've blocked the bishop. Now that's key with either e6 or knight d7. They've blocked the bishop. Now we can play knight takes f3. We don't. The only point of queen takes f3 is to attack here and here. Otherwise, you should just recapture knight. They've blocked the bishop, so this diagonal will be ours, right? If we want it with bishop d3, you could instead also just play it like this, but it holds a lot more advantage for white if they've played h6. If they've played h6, then this idea becomes really, really nice. Rook g1, g4, and g5. You could play like this as well, but this is, for example, in this position, you know, here, okay, let's say white plays a move. h6 would be a really bad choice. h6 would be a really bad choice because now we just need to back up anywhere, and now rook g1, g4, g5, it gives us a hook to attack, and I'll show you more about what I mean by a hook to attack. So, in the game here, we did get something like this. We did get something very similar like this. So bishop h4, e6, f3, bishop e7. I'll tell you why I played queen to e2, even though the engine hated it. Engine wanted queen takes d4. I didn't think... My opponent seemed to be a Gambit denier. I didn't think it would happen. But so, rook d1. Okay, apparently my king still has a lot of issues. My king has a lot of issues. So losing the b2 pawn and potentially dealing with bishop b4, not fun. So wouldn't recommend. I didn't want f takes e4 here. This is going to be a tangent. I'm confusing you guys too much. Let me get back to that. But so, okay, we played queen to e2 and we got a structure like this, right? Basically is the point. So, right, whether they played e takes f3 now or later is a little bit immaterial. Knight takes f3, knight c6, castles, castles, right? So we got a structure like this, except the pawn's not on h7, the pawn's on h6. Why does that make a big difference? Is the idea I was touching on earlier, right? So we're playing here rook to g1. And so now after, so they're doing something, a6, g4, b5. My idea is so much stronger than their idea. Even though we both have kings and they're both relatively protected by pawns, why is g4, g5 attacking the knight in front of their king so much better than b5, b4 attacking the knight in front of my king? It's because I don't have a pawn on a3. If I had a pawn on a3 and they had a rook on b8, it would probably be, you know, the same deal. Although, you know, their queen is blocked by a pawn that exists here, whereas I've sacrificed this pawn, so my queen got over to g2 to attack really, really quickly. But nonetheless, this pawn's on h6. It makes a huge difference, and it's a move you absolutely never want to play if the kings are castled on opposite sides. Why? Because it presents a hook. You want a pawn trade if you're attacking. You want a pawn trade if you are attacking, if you are pushing pawns. The point of pushing pawns is only to trade pawns. Don't waste your time pushing them up the board if you're never going to get anywhere, right? Otherwise, like, you know, this can even come all the way here. Yes, it can still be good, but it takes a lot of time, and I'm just going to execute the push-past rule, right? If this knight weren't here, I played g5. If black could play h5, then this might all be for naught. So you need to make sure that, like, if you play g5, that h5 is not an option. You can, like, take it. Don't let them execute the push-past rule, which would deny pawn trades. What works well for me here is that g5 hits the knight, so they have no choice but to play h takes g5. And after bishop takes g5, I have achieved a huge goal, and you know, my opponent probably didn't understand the gravity of how important getting rid of that pawn for that pawn really is, but it is absolutely huge. The queen shifts over to g2, and as you saw in the game, this was just a total wrecking ball, just with the very simple idea of rook g1, g4, g5, and the very simple point of this pawn being on h6 instead of h7. If the pawn were on h7 in this position, I still have some compensation here, but it's a totally different story. Imagine this pawn's on h7 here, and black just plays knight d5. Okay, what do I do next? Like, what do I do next? I need to find a whole new target. I need to find a whole new way to make a threat. Like, a bishop needs to come to d3, or like rook comes to g3, h3, right? Some way to attack this. Okay, that's going to take time. Maybe black can generate something in the meantime. I don't know. But my pawns are flat, which is good. for opposite sides castles. For same side castles, this is a different story, because my king here, I would not just be playing g4, g5 willy-nilly necessarily if my king, if I was going to compromise the safety of my king. So g5 was played here, and after bishop takes g5, let's demonstrate why the g file is just so powerful. So my opponent is already panicking with this move, knight to h7. It makes sense if they play bishop b7, just bishop h6, and you can just see the power here. Just getting totally unleashed. Attacking here, g6 is giving me this rook at minimum and this king at maximum. Bishop h3, yeah, bring more pieces into the game. Bishop takes e6 is now a huge threat. Pawn takes, and then queen takes e6 or rook takes g6. All these things are and the king is just completely crumbling over the power of this file, the rooks, the queens. Everything's just playing, and it's just going to completely crush them. There's really not a chance against sacrifices like this. Just pouring on in. Black didn't really generate much other than they're still up their precious pawn, but okay, my pieces are just so much better than a pawn. Knight to h7 was played so that they could have bishop f6 against bishop h6, which is a sensible defensive strategy. I didn't even play the best move, queen g2. It's saying even stronger is queen e4, using the fact that this knight is also a target as a result of b5. You should use all your tactical resources, unprotected pieces. You should always take note of unprotected pieces, because something like queen to e4 could be like check, for example, and just pick that off. So anytime a piece is unprotected, you should take note of that. That's where tactical patterns come from. So you can see here, something like this, and bishop b7, bishop d3 really just ends the game. There's no way to not get checkmated if you're black, because that knight can't move. It has no squares to get out of the way. That poor knight. g6 would just fall victim to the rook takes g6 with this pawn out of the way. I mean, that's another note, in general, if you can play g4 and just get them to take it, rook g1, that could be, a very, very, very worthwhile sacrifice if kings are castled on opposite sides like this. Okay, queen g2, similar idea. Also have aims of this, but it's just very simple. Why not just stack right there, attack here? g6 wasn't even played. Yeah, like I said, I was going to play knight e5. Lots of ideas here with a pawn recapture here, attacking the queen. Lots of pressure on c6. And, of course, the biggest idea of all, knight takes g6. I think also something like bishop d3 and trying to play bishop takes g6 is also plenty here. So knight g5 was just played out of desperation, and after takes, f6, bishop h6, we go back to the well of attacking here. All the meanwhile, this is hanging. Yeah, I don't think this is worth a pawn. I don't think this was worth the extra pawn in the opening. And it's why my opponent actually had no intentions whatsoever. You can see here, my opponent had no intentions whatsoever of accepting the gambit. And it's why I go back here. You got to be careful, because there's actually a couple of other patterns at play in this position. One being that if I were to play f takes e4, I think, although the Stockfish might be disagreeing with, oh, now it's agreeing with me, is that knight takes e4 is an option. So this is kind of an interesting position. So it's calculating exactly what I was calculating during the game. So knight takes e4, black's up a pawn at this exact moment. So if we just kind of trade pieces, black stays up a pawn, and I kind of am without compensation. I don't really like the trades that just happened. So knight takes e4. Okay, I could play bishop takes e7. So now if they recapture here, now I'm up a piece, right? Okay, but then here come the lines. So knight takes e3. If I now just allow the dust to settle, they're just up a pawn for nothing. So dust can't settle. Takes. Again, don't let the dust settle. I'm just down a pawn for nothing here. So we've got to keep the dust going, and we get some line like this. I was actually talking about this during the game. It's like bishop takes e7, knight takes b2. But, okay, somehow this is some position here. Here, knight a4. And I have some compensation for the pawn. Okay, that's the line I was looking at. I didn't want that. So I didn't want the knight within range of my queen at all. It's also why I didn't choose queen d2. Because if I chose queen d2, I again can't play f takes e4 here, because I think there's knight takes e4, which attacks my queen, which is really annoying. It attacks my queen, and so again, like bishop takes e7, knight takes d2, I would have to deal with this garbage again. So I was like, just put me on e2, where this knight is not going to hit my queen. So maybe I actually still have knight takes e4 here. Oh my god, I cannot avoid this stupid knight. Here takes, it's still attacking me here. Okay, what was I supposed to do? It's saying, yeah, it's saying just go for this. How do I get out of the way? I think, honestly, just queen d2 is fine. Castles, just castles. I have no intention of taking here, right? So, like, takes, knight takes f3. If they finally do it, okay, we're in business here, g4, g5. Really fun attacking ideas from the Von Popiel Gambit. And it's really nice that I played this right on cue. You guys were like, wow, Lord help your opponent who faces a Von Popiel Gambit. And yeah, I hope this was a useful lesson. Attacking is not just, it's partially about the mindset of having the confidence and wanting to attack. That's good. That's a prerequisite. But there's a lot of different attacking ideas. And I hope this demonstrated a really important one, to you guys, both in the Queen E1, Queen H4 maneuver, which I have a lot of videos about, but also the importance of opposite side castling and the sheer importance of open files. These pawns are really just in the way in those situations. Let those rooks free. Let them fly. Those are your key attackers in opposite sides castling. Okay, subscribe if that goes on YouTube. I really appreciate all the compliments, guys. GCRU. Wow. I said subscribe if this goes on YouTube. This is all on YouTube right now. Mr. Matt Bader. What is up, sir? Von Peel check. What's next on our list? What do you want to see next? Von Hennig? Okay. Speak it into existence. Okay, I'm black this game. What do you want to see here? Let's do it. Do you want to see a London Crusher 9000 by chance? Oh, D5 is a good line. Let's play G6 and bishop here. My opponent, I sense, knows what they're doing. Let's just get a quick castle. Oh, this seems ambitious. Let's try to, like, undermine this a little bit. I feel like I've gotten this same position before. Player E8. Are they gonna castle? Player E8 here. Don't let me do this to you. Can I play B5? Or like something fun? Takes. F5? B5. I feel like I've gotten this before. What's going on after B5? I feel like I've gotten this before. Okay, whatever. We'll find out what's going on after B5. Lots of things hopefully opening up here as I distract one of these guys, and hopefully we can open this. Castles, do I actually have anything? Like, what's my next move? Takes, just C takes? B4 and 8B5, that might be good for them. It's not good for them. Okay, let's go takes. I'm not sure this is best. I think maybe just trading last turn was better. Okay, but I was just talking about the importance of open files over here. Let's see if I can do it. Although this is a little different. It is admittedly a little different. Because they're actually their position's pretty nice. Their pieces are pretty nice. And I can't hop on that B file quite yet. Hopefully soon. Can I play takes knight B6 and win the bishop? That's kind of my idea. I only have 27 seconds. Oh, this is terrible mismanagement of the clock on my part. Let's just be really quick. Yeah, my next move is just rook B8. Yeah. C7. Oh, knight C4 I missed. No, I didn't miss it. Would have had to trade queens. That would have sucked. Okay, can we collaborate over here? Can we collaborate? Beautiful symphony on the pieces. That could get in there. Would be nice. Queen of 6. Bishop on c6 controls some squares, but it's not everything. Yeah, I'm not too worried about this pawn. Okay, I don't have rook a8, but it's fine. This seems very strong now as the pieces harmonize in attack. So we opened the b file. We had the long-term vision that the b file would cause problems, and it is causing lots of them. Oh my goodness, both are very strong. Bishop takes b2, forced king d2, but I need her in the game. King d2, she's the finisher, no? How do I get him with just the bishops? Is she not the finisher? Rook c2, king b1. Just like check and win something? Okay, no, that's like checkmate. They need to stop me. That's checkmate? Is that really gonna be true? Yeah, just here. I didn't move the queen once the whole game. This is gonna be checkmate after rook takes d3. That is crazy to attack without a queen. The queen, I guess there were a couple moments where like she protected the d6 pawn. Is my opponent gonna stall out? Are they that salty? They're getting reported. They're stalling out. Oh my goodness, guys. Look at this. Look at this. They're stalling out against the arena clock. It's at 12 seconds right now. Oh, okay. It auto lost for them. They're getting reported, and then I'll look at this game. That is despicable behavior. I have no tolerance for stallers. They are just so salty. Absolutely no tolerance for you. Please normalize reporting opponents who stalled against checkmate in one. Please report. You are doing good work for the sanctity of Lichess and chess.com. Am I doing it? Okay. My opponent here, let's have a look at this as the arena winds down. d4, knight f6, bishop f4, c5. So it was a London player who plays d5. And those are kind of a rare breed because it's a very non-London structure to suddenly be putting your pawns on light squares. What was that virtue in? b4, b5, bishop b2, a5. That's funny. Alright. Wait, so let's have a look here. So d5, yeah, g6 is just a nice way to play against it. The bishop now has nice scope here without this there. So e3 and queen b6, this is the start of the London Crusher 9000 line. d5 here, it's also a line, and so white is playing a little differently. The bishop on f4 is not necessarily consistent with it, but they do take a lot of space really quickly. So e4 and e6, so we're immediately trying to chip away right there. Queen c2 makes a lot of sense to try and get out of here ASAP. You can imagine something like knight f3, or e8, bishop d3, and I think already maybe black has something like, yeah, takes, he takes, maybe c4, something like this. Try some sort of way to put pressure, trying to take one of these things before that king leaves the center, where the rook is open. I don't know here. Maybe c4, just bishop c2 is okay. This is, yeah. I mean, white's potentially able to get out of the center quick enough anyway. But queen c2 castles makes a lot of sense. I played rook e8, knight f3, and yeah, okay. Again, it's wanting me to just take and play d6 here, but I went for it. I played this ambitious try b5, trying to cause some mayhem, like knight takes b5, maybe like knight takes e4 or something like this. I don't know. I had dreams of something like this, but it doesn't necessarily work. I guess I was a little in over my head when you turn on. Somehow they work during the games, and then I turn on Stockfish, and it's like, well, maybe these ideas weren't the best. But b5, my opponent just castles out of it after his takes, and my opponent plays e takes, which is not the best. Oh, e5 is a tough move to find. e5 is a really nice try, so now the knight moves in cd5. This feels very hard to find over the board. cd5 here is not a great choice, presumably because of b4 makes the knight move, and then we take it. But again, somehow the bishop is doing a good job. So like the knight can always come into d6 or c7 here. In the game, he takes d5. We trade on c4. And long term, the vision of I achieve b5 and I achieve pawn takes c4. Long term, I had dreams of a rook and a bishop collaborating here on b2. right? We were just talking about opposite side castles getting the open file. My opponent does not have an open file, right? So if they're able to achieve something like h4, h5, which is a very standard way you see to attack a fianchetto, h4, h5, trade, and then especially, you know, if they can play bishop h6, so trade this, right? Okay, and then you can imagine the queen can just waltz right into h6 and then waltz right into h8 long term, right? That could be a way to checkmate against a fianchetto. However, you know, bishop h6, okay, I would meet with probably bishop to h8 so that the bishop can stay on the board here, which is also, in addition to being a defensive weapon, is also a very strong offensive weapon, as was demonstrated in the game. So my opponent plays in the center of the board, which makes a lot of sense. You know, you can't really go wrong playing in the center of the board. And I think if h4 here was a little hasty, like bishop f5 or bishop g4, was all good spots, and the rook comes to b8, and, you know, they've got to deal with this. So it makes a lot of sense here for them to try to trade some guys. Rook e1, bishop f5. Queen comes to a4, but the queen on a4 actually allowed me to play an 8d7 because takes d6, I have an 8b6 with tempo on a queen, so that I would be winning the bishop in this position. Oh, bishop takes d6 is never really possible. Apparently, bishop h6 check is nasty. Look at that, with these two b's just screaming down against the king, which should be on a1, I guess, to avoid this issue. So this bishop needs to stay on f4 to prevent bishop h6 check, which should have given me an idea in general of playing h5, chasing this guy away, trying to play bishop h6. Interesting. So, yeah, you can really get a king like that. You can really get a king like that with the bishop there. I wasn't even thinking about that because the c-file was closed. But you can really get a king like that with the just like that. Just like that, out of nowhere. Bishop h6 check. So knight d7 was played bishop b5, which doesn't help matters for white, because my knight zigzags in to b6, and after takes, we just play something like rook b8, knight c7, and everything has gone really, really swimmingly for me here. This knight just, well, okay, maneuvered to c7, and it's actually doing its part. It got out of the way for this bishop, and also it allows knight c4 without me having to trade queens, right? Last turn, knight c4, I would have had to trade queens. That would have sucked. Knight c7, let's keep them on. Well, even if my queen didn't do anything, I didn't want to have to play rook takes d8. I wanted my rook here. And now, yeah, takes a7. I mean, it's just so greedy. Here comes knight c4, and look at these pieces. Just, you know, the knight and the rook alone attack b2, and b3 is off the table because of bishop takes c3. And there's just so much pressure right here. The rook and the bishop have achieved the long-term dream that I had set in motion so many moons ago when I played this move b5, just trying to open that file for when they castle here. Yeah, I want that file open, because now here comes my rook to b8. Same idea we talked about last game, similar concept. The rook and the bishop are coordinating here very, very nicely on b2, and it's just absolutely brutal. There's just no way to defend this. There's no way to defend this whatsoever. My opponent was like trying to get their bishop to c6 so they can grab this one pawn without having to deal with rook a8. Okay, you can have fun with your pawn. I'll have fun with your king. There's no way to defend this whatsoever. Knight a4, I mean, it's just going to give another attacker right there. And to make matters worse, I also have a light square guy. I have a light square guy which will make positions like this, right, literally just straight up checkmate, even if my queen can't join the party, which, okay, maybe she could in some lines, but it's just straight up checkmate. So you saw here something like that happened in the game. Oh, knight a4 was played, actually. Knight takes b2. This was even stronger. Bishop takes b2 because it forces knight takes, rook takes b2. Okay, and this is checkmate next turn with the knight controlling here and the bishop controlling here. So, yeah, okay, queen b7 is the engine's recommendation. Not in a good situation when that happens. In the game here, knight takes b2, takes, rook takes, and, yeah, it's still checkmate because the bishops are very strong. And I got my pawn back, by the way. Bishop g5 was played, check, and checkmate. I would have been kinder to my opponent in this analysis, but they stalled, and I don't have any respect for stallers whatsoever. So, GG. And yeah, open files against the enemy king when they castle. What can I say? What can I say? My opponent, for their part, should, yeah, queen a4, bishop d3, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. This bishop wasn't really doing anything, and this guy, yeah, as you saw, it caused a lot of problems. And then from here, okay, I think, you know, after trade, I think white has an okay position and, you know, some decent counterplay. It's not easy for me to just play knight d7, rook b8 when bishop takes d6 can happen now. So I think white here is okay. Okay, GG. It is now 12:04. I've analyzed this for a while. We can go to another arena. What's up, Gambit Cow? Wonder Man. Serious question, though. Would I play those games of mine in a long game against players same strength as me? So, like, maybe. I've talked about this before. Should I join this arena in the meantime? I could join a rapid arena. Might be more chill for like midnight chess. Maybe a rapid arena. The thing is, players at my level with 2 hours on their clock are so good. It's actually really annoying. And it actually is why I really like Blitz. And I sympathize with Magnus specifically on this issue. That, you know, that is the future of chess potentially. Or at least I would like it to be. Some faster time controls where, you know, more aggressive and more feels for the game works, because people are just so good at longer time controls, and it becomes really tough. You know, like they can have just this minor advantage, and you're just defending this slightly worse position for like hours. It's tough. Now, not that there's still not a huge advantage to practicality, and that people are still so far from perfect at any level, even the absolute best players in the world. And like, who am I to complain that people are good at chess? It is what it is. But yeah, so, you know, in terms of them being able to find refutations and defenses, it's very plausible. It's still absolutely worth putting pressure on them. Ooh, could we play maybe an abstinence gambit here? D6. They didn't want this, at least for now. Okay, well now we get to play f takes e5, which I think is a lot of fun. Could open the f file and some other good ideas, right? Bishop g4. So I understand here. They want bishop g4 and e6, and they want the bishop to be on the other side, right? If I play check, queen d7, bishop b5, and ac6. e6. Bishop takes e6 and 85. Wins. So check bishop d7. Queen shifts. Where could she shift to? h4? I think it might make the most sense to just go check. ac6 and h3. Let me play h3 right now. Because now if you play bishop h5, I wanted e6. I honestly wanted e6. Am I crazy? Let's do it. e6, baby. Without the bishop there. I want to just put that in their face. Don't let them get the comfy little structure they wanted. Just kind of coming up with things here. Let's go check. Let's get the guy out. We're castling, right? Unless we're playing g4 and 85, I don't know. g4, bishop g6 and 85. I gotta be careful of a queen slipping underneath right there, right? Let's start him out with d4. That way if takes, maybe then g4. Bishop g6 and 85. And then follow that up with cd4. Well, okay, maybe g4 here, yeah. Just having some fun. Gotta be careful when I also... So that's a good move against knight takes d4, right? That you're guarding that spot. If I just kind of play knight e5 here, knight takes f7. Well, okay, now I want the knight on e5 very much. Because I can stop long castles. So like queen c7, cd4, for example. This bishop is now very stupid on f7. And you can't castle long. I will take it. That move allows me to take right now without ever having to deal with queen g3. Do I castle? I could take, takes, and then, like, okay. But maybe it might be more fun to castle. I feel like my king would be less safe on g1 than anywhere else. It feels a little counterproductive. Okay, whatever. Let's castle. What a fun move. Queen b6. Like, you know, I have to watch out for that. I have to watch out for so many things now. Oh my goodness, my king's here. My king is not safe. My king is not safe at all. Whose king is less safe, though? We'll find out. So, bishop comes back to g6. This poor bishop continues its poor journey. Queen f3 seems annoying if I were black. It guards the g3 square, potentially puts this on the table, although, is that the end of the world? Who's to say? Knight f6 can't be played because I would take it. With no another defender. I would love to get these guys in the game. We're just having fun here. The way you think and explain your chess is really fantastic, man. Thanks for making content. I don't comment much, but I've learned a lot from your videos. That's so sweet, guys. Thank you so much. You guys, and his comments like that inspire me to do what I do. I really appreciate it. I am so glad you enjoy it. Can we checkmate? We're like close somehow. The path of this bishop has been here, 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 here. Okay, queen b6. That's got to be a good move because my king is not in a good spot. You should really only be attacking when your king's in a good spot. Well, that's not necessarily true, but it's just much better. Okay, c4. Knight f6. Do I want that? g5. I could make this happen. c4. So d3 check. King can come out of the way. It's just so much better. Like, your own king safety is so important. You know, is kind of my point. So you just got to be careful. Like, I think they might have had an opportunity to slip under here, but I'm not even sure. So c4, we're sort of attacking this knight, but defending here, getting rid of d takes c3. I'd love to use these pieces. I think we will be. So once this knight moves at d3 check, we'll have bishop e3. d3 right now does nothing. Probably gets my king to a better spot. Knight c7. That feels like what I wanted to happen. Now it feels like they could lose. So takes, check. Or like something like takes, king d8. I almost have queen takes f8, rook takes, but they have bishop e8. Oh, that's so close. What a funny position. If I just play bishop g5 and just kind of hang out. Oh, we're low on time. So. Oh, they're threatening to take me on b5, of course. I'm just going to keep this pin. See what happens. I've spent more time than my opponent, and I'm the one who berserked. So let's keep that in mind. We're just keeping this pin. Can I take... How do I get these into the game most effectively is the big question. It's probably just knight a3 is my next move, honestly. Take, queen f7. It's just not as good as it might look, I think. I assume trading on c6 is good, but again, maybe I'm just overestimating my position. I'm expecting too much. That's why I'm not satisfied with playing these lines. Like, this is still at the back of my mind, and it's actually not easy to stop. h4. So we just got out of the way of this, and we're just like, okay, deal with your position. Deal with it. What do you do if you're black? Like, how do you move? Can you attack my bishop? What if I just defend my bishop? Knight a6. Knight a3. Knight c5. Bishop e5. What is my big idea? They go there. That makes sense. Okay, let's get rid of that. Maybe c5. Oh, okay, let's take this. Okay, let's just be fast now. That seems good. Yeah, I'm just going to a3. I need more pieces in the game. I can't continue to play with nobody. Let's get him in. So now it puts ideas like bishop e3 on the table. Takes and rook d1. Right? King e8, take. I gotta be careful letting that happen with e2 potentially as a follow-up. Oh, that just gives me that, yeah? No, now they're just playing to flag me, which was not advisable. No, they're not gonna flag me. Sorry. Yeah, no, they started they were playing very well on the board, and then they started playing the clock. They started playing the clock and stopped playing the board. It's very easy to do that when your opponent's low on time. Gets tempting. Just trade everything. Yum. Yeah. Not even close. So, GG, interesting one. Okay. Abstinence Gambit with, so Abstinence Gambit is an interesting one. Can I pull up that study easily? Well, studies. No. Ah. This is what we're looking for. So the Abstinence Gambit is playing f4 here, which is what happened in the game. And so if knight takes f4, we play d4, attacking this, and we take a big center, so it's actually a really nice way. So this is the Alpine Sicilian, right? We're playing c3, trying to play d4, take the whole center. Knight f6 attacks this pawn, so it prevents us from just playing d4 right away. So after e5, we play f4, offering that pawn. And the point is f4 also helps our center. It's not just bait. So let's go to the decline line, see if this is covered. This move here, bishop g4, or, well, we had takes. We had an early takes, which is actually not covered in... Shout out to Highly Cruciferous, who is the maker of the Abstinence Gambit. He does not have the immediate takes in bishop g4 covered. So we're actually in new ground here. And this is very, very rare with this move f4. You can see, oh, there's still like 6,200 games, but I don't think that's very many for move 4. You can see that goes from over 2.2 million. So f4 happens here, d6, knight f3, takes, f takes, we use that pawn, and bishop g4. I think this was a really good way to play, and honestly, what I might have played as black myself if I were seeing this for the first time. I'll tell you why as soon as I drink water. Ooh. I've been talking for a while. Okay, bishop g4, because black's next move is obvious. This is what I always ask myself in the opening phase of the game, especially because I don't want to let my opponent just do what they want to do. What is my opponent's next move? Bishop g4, the next move is very obvious. It's e6. They don't want their bishop to be on this side of e6, so they want to get this out and play e6 real quick. And then if they're able to achieve that, so something like this, la-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da. Okay, this bishop could have been really bad here. Instead, it's really good here and defends their king very nicely. Okay, they also have a knight on a nice outpost, and I think this position is honestly really, really pleasant for black. What could have been bad is if their bishop were here doing nothing. And then, potentially this could have been a target, with the pawn clearing the way for an attack, right? They don't have a knight here defending a standard castle because of this pawn. So without that knight, okay, this could be a target long term. Imagine something like queen h5, if my bishop were getting here, right? You've seen attacks like this before. But the bishop is on the other side of the door. So, door is about to close with them to play e6. So I ask an interesting question. h3, do you want to take here? And you can play e6, so that's still, better than a terrible bishop, but it does give me, I still have this light square bishop on the board, and I'm probably going to want to have a lot of fun in this general direction, if you don't mind. So, I ask the question to them, do you want to back up? They say, yes, I do want to back up, and so you can see here the engine saying inaccuracy, bishop f5 was best. So still trying to be on the other side of the door, trying to play e6 next turn. And it's saying, for here, if you're white, don't let them play e6 next turn. Play knight to h4 before, actually, they open that up. Make them go back here if necessary. Right? Okay, even just bishop e2, e6, knight f3, if that gets attacked, we made them be over there, right? We didn't let them play e6 and get the bishop on a nice spot on f5. This theme actually comes up in a number of lines on my channel, like the Von Papilla, I was talking about that earlier on the stream. Can they get the bishop on the other side of the e6 pawn to protect that diagonal and in turn protect their king on the king side? Very important point. Bishop f5 played, so h3, bishop h5 played here, and does give me an opportunity to play this move e6 right in your face. I am slamming this door the other way, not you. I am putting the pawn on e6 now that the bishop is no longer here. We've chased him away, so this is my one chance to play e6, and I am all over it. So e6 comes, f take. I hit the down arrow instead of the right arrow. I do that sometimes. e6, f takes e6. It's a weird position, right? It's a weird position. This is generally a good sacrifice if you can do it, I will say. It's at least neutral, because it's just, you can see how really annoying it is, how nice it would have been for black to play e6, like how much they really wanted to do this. And anytime you can... anytime you can not let your opponent do what they want is a win in my book. Even psychologically, it's annoying. So you can see, yeah, now this bishop never got to develop the whole game, and you can understand why that bishop might have a long road to developing. And g6, also not really possible when g4 is going to come and trap the bishop, and it also needs these squares. So it becomes really tight, really cramped in a battle for squares, and makes a lot of weaknesses around their camp. So a really good use of a pawn. I will say c3 here, maybe not the best in terms of what I want to do, but I was able to make use of it. Potentially, the queen has roots this way. Anyway, here, bishop e5 check makes a lot of sense. The knight is in a good spot, protecting against, like, a development on c4 would have made sense attacking here, but I will never get by this knight. So we start out with bishop to b5 check, knight to c6, and I play here d4. It's saying just castle. I feel like if I just castle, they were going to play, okay, something like queen b6, and then castle long next turn themselves, and maybe be okay here. Yeah, okay, knight a3 here. Okay, we can have fun attacking here and getting out of this pin. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, but that's not really how I wanted to play. So I'm immediately striking d4 and preparing c takes d4 to just play g4. So, I have no regrets about how I did this. This is how I play chess. If you've ever watched my channel before, you'll know this is how I'm playing chess. We've already sacrificed both our center pawns really quickly. And we've pushed h3 and g4. So, welcome to the chaos. I live for the chaos, and my opponents don't always live for the chaos. So, I'll live and die by the chaos every day of the week here. So, g4 chases the bishop away, and f7 was chosen, which was a minor inaccuracy, I believe. Yeah, g6 would have been a better choice, and I was mentioning this during the game, that now, okay, let's say I played knight e5 the same way, and this isn't as big of a deal, right? In this position, actually, they ended up putting the bishop back on g6 really quickly, because now, after I play knight e5, this bishop becomes a target. You can never castle long to get your king maybe into some sort of safety here. So, absolute chaos on the board here, but bishop f7 is played, but that's kind of what happens. Chaos breeds mistakes from your opponent, especially ones who just won in nice, simple positions with bishop to g4 and e6, right? We could have just had that, but, I don't want to ever allow that to happen over my dead body. So here we go, jumping in, knight to e5. Engine's top choice was queen takes d4, but again, after queen to c7, yeah, I think they're going to be able to castle, although, we have some tricks here. Yeah, it's saying queen e5, propose the queen trade. Castles, takes, that's the line it's giving, come on. Something like this, at least, maybe is interesting. I was thinking maybe castles, we can take it and maybe try grab a7, but even if they go pawn takes e6, I'm not sure it's the end of the world. Either way, even if you get something like this, because you do have to watch out for queen g3 hits, even if you get something like this, it's going to be okay, because these pieces are just so bad. So I feel like I'm going to have compensation every line, but anyway, I'm going to keep the pressure on here with moves like knight to e5, and this knight just becomes an absolute monster the rest of the game. So rook to c8 played, which was a big mistake. Yeah, I was saying queen c7 during the game. It attacks this knight and also looks at the g3 square. So I can never really just like play knight takes f7 right now. I think, yeah, because queen g3 check, it's a problem. It's not like if these king and rook switch places, forget it. Black can resign. My king is safe, and, you know, okay, I also have a great rook in the game. But my king is potentially more unsafe than theirs. Queen c7, yeah, my idea was just to recapture here, whether that's pawn takes or queen takes, I wasn't quite sure. But the point of the bishop being here is now becomes very important, because they'd love to castle, but this bishop is hanging, and it's very awkwardly placed. Instead, I'm going to maybe castle and continue to make some threats right there. So, interesting position. cd4, yeah, probably can't play it because of queen a5 check. Knight c3 they can take. Not sure what's going on here, but probably not the best for white. So yeah, that's why maybe queen takes d4 makes more sense. In the game here, rook c8, which takes castling completely off the table and does not activate their queen in a way that would either attack my knight or try to play queen g3. So it gives me the opportunity to castle myself. Even though, again, the engine wanted me to take a pawn, I was not that interested in it. I'd like to play this fun move, castling, getting the king from unsafety to unsafety, because we don't have any pawns in front of him, and the queen can still slip underneath to g3, potentially even worse than before, and there's a new diagonal that's open, in addition, as opposed to that diagonal. So the king's no safer on g1 here than it is on e1, but our rook improved. If I played rook f1 or castles, probably equivalent. But yeah, this pawn is just terrible, right? Like queen to h4 check would have been bad, and, you know, they would have done anything to get that pawn off the board, by the way. So castle's here. We're attacking this bishop. Bishop slides out of the way, bishop g6. Engine is saying knight f6, g5. But okay, I feel like I'm just winning a piece here if I can chase this out of the way. I think what it's going to recommend, yeah, it's going to recommend something like bishop to g6, and then this isn't even the best move. E takes f6, yeah. Nice sacrifice here. Being able to play e takes f6. They get so much for that piece. What a huge capture that is for their position. Opening the bishop, castling, their king is safe, their bishop is freed, they chase the knight out of this square. Knight takes g6 is an absolute no-no. You cannot allow the rook to do that to you. And wow, what Black has totally turned the tables and donned the Gambit glasses themselves by playing knight f6 and then just allowing that pawn to come take you. So knight takes g6, no-no. That's a no-no. Knight can move somewhere, but yeah, they are down a piece, but my king is way more unsafe than their king. And yeah, give me black here. Give me black here. Ooh, interesting. That somehow didn't even cross my mind, but yeah, just letting that knight be taken, e takes f6 is a huge capture for them, and easily worth the price of that knight in a position like this. Wow. So, interesting idea there. They played bishop to g6 and just kept on suffering instead. So that bishop has made a few moves here, here, all over the place. So bishop to g6 happens. I play here queen to f3. Again, the engine wanted something just like, okay, just pawn takes d4. Fine, but I mean, I like the aggression here, trying to play queen f3. They do again have knight f6, and I think, again, the point is g5. They can, yeah, just play a move like queen d5. Something that just allowing that to be taken. I think also knight f6 I discounted because I thought that taking here would be a big deal. It's just not a big deal. They can go here, g5, and just allow this to happen. Again, just allow this to happen. It's saying now g takes f6, keep that king safe, open the g line, and come get me. So, really nice piece sacrifice, and just form an absolute fortress around your king. I cannot touch that king. And now, yeah, that rook's going to jump into the game. What became maybe the worst piece on the board is now one of the best pieces on the board, probably. So, really interesting stuff. Yeah, just knight f6 and just turtle up right there. And then come get me. Okay. Queen f3 played here. Queen b6, I think that, I said during the game, I think that's a very sensible choice, though. It hits my bishop and potentially causes my king problems. But c4 was a good move on my part, dodging the pawn trade here, holding the bishop, and trying to target this knight. Knight c7, I mean, I can't really blame them. Again, knight should go to f6 because g5 is no big deal. I think g5 is no big deal. You can get taken there, and you probably should get taken there. Knight c7 was chosen. They wanted me to take here. So knight c7 chosen because it hits this. It blocks the rook, right? They wanted me to take here and just play knight d2 and I'm winning. I think the knight's just so dominant. I think like my next move is like knight b3, c5. Yeah, it's saying here. We can try and take d4, land our knight in on d4, and just have a whole bunch of targets. I'm not down much. I'm down 2 pawns, but it's a plus 3.4 position, which is kind of crazy. That just like because they're playing. Yes, they're up 2 pawns, but they are playing without 8 points completely. Just like such liabilities over there. And in fact, none of their pieces are doing a good job at all. And yeah, I mean, I have the time here to just play knight b3, c5, get these pieces out, take d4. So yeah, I mean, kind of a disaster of position for black. I played bishop a4, which I thought kind of still keeps on the pressure a little bit. I guess this is a sensible idea that they have. King d8 makes some sense, but now I take the knight, and now we get kind of the same exact position as before, except with the king here instead of here. And so I grab this pawn, come right back. Grabbing the pawn wasn't completely necessary, but now here comes knight a3, and we're finally activating some pieces. h5 just hung the bishop, but that's not why they lost this game. This is just a really, really bad position for black. I mean, there's just nothing good about black's position anymore. Their pieces aren't doing anything. d3 doesn't do anything with bishop e3. Bishop e3 is a move I want to play anyway, with rook d1 to follow. There's no urgency in this position at this point. My king cannot be touched, even though it's exposed. It can't be touched because black doesn't have any pieces that are doing anything to come get me. You know, if they had, right, some situation with like the pawn here and the bishop streaking down here, right, like this bishop developed itself and they had a rook here or something like this, okay, then there's definitely problems. My king's exposed. But right now it's like my pawns are up here, so what? There's no pieces that can actually come get me. Whereas for this king, my pieces are just so much better. And I think it was only a matter of time here. h5 is a good attempt to try and open this. I would have executed the push past roll probably to keep that rook locked up if it didn't just hang the bishop completely. I think they got really excited about my low clock and started making moves really quickly. So that was really not the way to go. Okay, that rook was hanging. For some reason, I took the bishop instead, which is kind of funny. But okay, we ended up winning this game. Interesting game here. Interesting installment in Yan theory against a quick bishop g4 or quick bishop f5. Against bishop f5, yeah, I think, yeah, knight h4. I was going to say, don't let them play here in e6. Don't let them get the bishop on the other side of the door. So bishop g4, yeah, I like this h3 and just chase them around, play e6, slam the door in their face. Slam the door in their face. Did I consider h3, h4 at some point? Yes. So, you know, you're talking about like some position like this. Yeah. h3, h4, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, arguably it's a little slow with like all the craziness happening and like whether my knight can even stay here. Do I even have this pin? Things like that. But yeah, h4, h5, make the bishop move and then try to play queen f7. I think it makes a lot of sense. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe if this one goes on YouTube. This was a fun installment in Yan Theory. GCRU, I will post a link to the full abstinence Gambit if you want a good repertoire to play against the c3 Sicilian. Let's get back to the arena. Hey, man, dude, I watched the WRB World Rap and Blitz. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. In fact, I was there. I was there for the... Let's see. I was there for the first day of the Blitz. Berserk this one. No way that we're playing another one. So it was very cool to be there, I will say. Let's play an a3. Can I get a yan? Very cool venue. And I was a volunteer, which allowed me to be... Take the whole center here. Which allowed me to be very close to the players and everything. I got to hold the door open for them. I had a great time. My friends were there. Very cool that I was here in New York. Not far from me. I used to live in Fight Eye, actually. I don't anymore. What was I going to say? I was there. I was on the women's side. My knight's doing nothing here. I think she'll be on c2, fighting against knight b4, and maybe overprotecting right here. My next idea will probably be e5. I have some fun ideas. Just like here and here, and just threaten to sacrifice. Like, what do you do about it? For example, e5 is the other idea. Takes, knight d5, queen e2. Just play like queen e4 next turn. I think that's probably, if you turn on Stockfish, that would probably be what it would recommend. I like this though. Just queen d2. It's not obvious what to do against this threat. You should probably play rook e8 right now to maybe play bishop f8. d5, e5. And I've taken knight e4 off the table. That was the point of playing rook e1. But this knight c2 does a good job. I mean, I think black's played passively. I don't think you can play like this. You need to challenge the center. Somehow. There's no e5. If they continue to just go here, here comes queen d2. So now h5 makes sense, but I was prepared for this. Now I'm coming here. They're repeating queen d2, knight g4, bishop f4. Do they have e5 there? I think that was their idea. That makes sense. They have e5 there. So I think, does it make most sense for me to play? But my bishop on e3 actually is not what you would want in that line. Let me just play h3. Also, if they play e5, now I have d5. I have knight d4 is very well stopped, and bishop g4 is never on the table. So h3 just stops knight g4, and it just allows me to continue with my little threat here. Maybe queen c1. No, queen c1 is, because this I just said before. My knight on c2 is doing a very good job. I'll say that. I think knight on c2 is very well placed. So now h7 fighting against this. Is it a successful fight? Takes, bishop g5. I guess that's their idea. Queen h5. It's not off the table at all. I think they would play e5 to try and stop me from playing e5 myself. I think it's actually very important that they don't play e5. I need to play e5. Maybe right now. If takes, I might just take right away. I need this open. That's basically the bottom line. So they should probably play knight g5. In which case, takes. Let's say bishop takes. Okay, I can just take d6 at the end of it, but that's not my big goal. f5, okay, I mean, that makes sense if you don't want to lose immediately, right? Should I en passant? I mean, structurally, this is better no matter what I do. What if I sacrifice? Now, after bishop g5, I have something like queen g6, king h8, but I might run out of steam. Probably better to en passant. E takes d6, I mean, also lend me a nice structure. I should have been making these decisions quicker given the time situation. Like, honestly, if I just play just like a normal move here, my structure is very, very, very good relative to theirs. But can I take on h6? So take. Queen e7. Rook e4. It's worth a shot, isn't it? Isn't it worth a shot? It's worth a shot. Let's do it. Queen c1 should have been played instead of queen d2, probably. Because then this would have been target. Okay. This is also going to be a tactical resource in every line. The fact that this is hanging. Like, if I had, like, queen e4 attacking here and here. Okay, so queen comes here. I was going to play rook e4, right? That's my idea. I'm not sure whether this actually works. But I'm sure that it is fun. Rook e4. I don't like rook e4 because it gets in the way. So there's bishop g7 at this exact moment. They can block that because it gets in the way. But it stops queen g7, very importantly. So what's my threat if I got to move again? Rook g4, king h8, and bishop takes h7. Takes, that would hang. Yeah? So, oh, that's a very sensible move. Oh, but it doesn't stop the threat I just said. It doesn't stop the threat I just said. Rook a7 makes a lot of sense to reinforce the 7th rank, but you're going to lose. I just take f8. The rooks are not coordinated here. You have overprotected the 7th rank. And bishop takes h7. Oh, they forgot about that. I mean, not like there was anything they can do here. Yeah, GG, queen g8 just takes g8, checkmate. Not like there was anything they could do here. Bishop g7, just queen h5. And then, you know, they can challenge me here, but bishop g6 check is my next move anyway. Here, bishop g6, and come back to checkmate them. That, I think, was a pretty well played game. And I think shows how to attack from a better position, right? I kind of get this question a lot. Or not, I don't know if I'd get this question a lot so much as I see this as a point where some people struggle, where, you know, they do very, very well at opening principles. Great center, castle your king, okay, what do you do next? And they just struggle to come up with a proper idea, right? So, like, even, you know, these like, they won't even blunder. They won't even blunder, right? But and they'll still abide by principles, move your worst piece, keep moving your worst piece. But, you know, you got to be working towards something, and ideally working towards something faster than your opponent's working towards something, right? So my opponent here is kind of dawdled a little bit, right? They played e6, d6, bishop e7, a6. I'm not about that. I want to punish such dawdling. So I feel like this has given me some time. Now, we're going to start out with an ac2, which is a very useful, important move. And rook e1 and ac2 actually serve a very similar purpose. And the purpose of both those moves is that you can imagine here, black had kind of maybe an idea to play d5, and after e5 to jump in 84, which can often be a good resource. And maybe similarly here, e5, d5, maybe jump d4. Not that that's necessarily a good idea, but like especially if this were to happen, I don't know. They actually can't do it in that order. There's no possible order that they could get the bishop to g4 before e5. But I didn't want to allow that, so rook comes to e1, so that d5, e5, the knight would have to move away, after which it would open up a lot of attacking potential for me along that diagonal. So now we're in a situation where neither e5 or d5 are good moves. e5, d5 here, I think this is also, you know, while totally playable and potentially even a good idea so that I don't play e5 myself and unleash this beast. But now we're in a situation where this knight has no good options. This is their best choice, and now this knight has no good options. Can't just jump knight b4 and try to trade off for it. So this knight should go, like knight a5 here, it would also get trapped. So this knight should really go backwards. And then, okay, I would probably play h3 to take away the only development square. And then I would play around this. Maybe f4 is a good idea or something like this. Especially if after takes, bishop takes, I could maybe play e5 and keep running them over. But I think here, they're definitely not getting checkmated even if their position is terrible. And they have not even one good piece. So that might have been advisable because they keep, they're not making a blunder. They're playing a6, d6, e6, but they're giving me time to do something, and I'm going to try to take advantage of that time. So h6, they play here, maybe to, you know, keep my pieces out. They don't want e5 and like a great gift sacrifice, but I think really if I'm black here, I'm playing e5 myself. Yeah, okay, they could play b5 and activate the bishop. It's always good to develop. And the bishop's going to be useful in a lot of lines here. Like one of the main ideas here for white would probably be e5. You can imagine like something like e5 and queen e2 and queen e4. I was kind of talking about this idea during the game. Queen and bishop here can attack h7 in such a way where if it's queen first, you can't just play h6. If it's bishop first, you can just play h6. But it would provoke g6, which is the idea. Okay, now maybe I can play bishop h6. I can shift the queen over. I can play h4, h5. I can play rook d1. And this is still nice. So, like, the knight here is keeping some guys out here. But the bishop, I mean, there's some knights in the way. But the bishop is, you know, doing a good job there in general. So it's not totally game over for black. Although you would have to deal with that. Honestly, if I'm black, I'm probably making the practical choice here to just play e5 myself. And maybe just deal with that position. But okay, h6 was played, bishop f4, and so I saw h6 as a target, right? So I could play e5 myself, but I saw h6 as a target. So I play bishop to f4 so that there's no more e5. I didn't like e5. If black just continued to play b5, I was going to play queen g2, bishop b7 if they continue to dawdle. Yeah, bishop takes h6 becomes really, really strong. I'm following that up with e5 and getting them right there very quickly. They play e5 themselves, but I think, you know, this something like knight g5, does that not win? D5 first. I think some way to get the rook across really quickly, I think, is what you need here. In the game, knight h5 played, which is very sensible, and in fact, they're telegraphing my idea. I was saying this during the game, rook e8 and bishop f8. I think that makes a lot of sense. The bishop is doing nothing on e7 in any of these lines anyway. Bishop on f8 makes a lot of sense to fortify here against these ideas, and e5 now can be an idea for black. e5 can be an idea, and maybe, like, now, okay, with the bishop getting attacked, maybe the e-file can even open, and this piece can, you know, look like it's in a good spot. e5, bishop g4, you can get some pieces out. I think, you know, that made the most sense. Okay, bishop g3 I would play, so that e5 I could answer with d5, so that wouldn't be attacked. in the game. So what we're trying to do here is, we're still improving all our pieces, but you saw I moved a different piece each time. I've not moved the same piece twice, right? Okay, until it got attacked. Moving a different piece each time, but it is towards their king. That's the big thing, right? So you get a great center, you get your pieces out. What do you do next? You look towards the enemy king, even in a situation where they have a standard castle and a normally safe king. Always in there's no king that's ever completely indestructible. There's no defense that's going to be completely indestructible. Attacking is all about resources, right? So if I'm in a situation where I control the board, my pieces are doing great, they have the potential to do something, but okay, everything's defended, there's no like weak points to attack, I can start looking towards the enemy king. I can say, okay, you have some defensive resources, but if I can keep piling on here, like here, like I have the luxury to do that without you doing anything to me, then I'm going to do that, right? So, and I'm going to get your king eventually some way. So I'm still moving new pieces, but I'm moving new pieces with the intent to cause problems towards the enemy king. So here, it's kind of an effortless sort of way to just play bishop f4, queen d2, knight c2. It's an effortless sort of way to prevent any strikes on their part. You'll note here, e5 is now impossible. d5, e5 is, not going to be good for them at all. This knight now needs to move backwards, and this looks even better. And e5 is not even playable. So it's kind of an effortless situation where now we send them scrambling a little bit. So they play knight h5, attacking the bishop, but we stay on that diagonal. Knight needs to come back to f6 to be able to answer queen d2 with knight g4. This was a good idea on their part, right? So now they're trying to take this bishop, and if I move e5, and I think they're doing okay. But here I played h3, just stopping that in its tracks completely. And now e5, right, I would answer with d5 very nicely. So it's not really on the table for them. And again, just queen d2, takes h6. I'm not moving the same piece multiple times. I'm playing around my big center. And, I'm causing them, after b5, queen d2, to scramble a little bit to deal with this brutal bishop takes h6 idea. Now, the engine's saying here d5, e5, and e4. I've actually put my bishop in the way of this rook. So this is a totally playable idea. And takes, right? I'm not going to be able to win that pawn at all. So bishop b7, they'd be able to defend that. And even if I could, honestly, to make that trade, even if this pawn were to vanish, like here, like I'll even show you, like this position, it's maybe, knight ended up in a good spot. But trading off for this best piece is not a bad idea at all. So to be able to insert d5 and e4 and get that diagonal, not so bad for black. Imagine something like this. If they could do this, knight takes e4. Okay, well they have knight takes e5 here. So that was their best choice. They had a chance here to play this and get a knight on e4, in which case they're kind of blocking, my big ideas. I think that was kind of their last chance, because now knight h7, and they can play e5 one more time to prevent this from being open, but I'm playing e5 myself. And so knight h7 stops bishop takes h6 from winning the game. True, because it gives them... so this is not working here. Takes. Yeah, like I was saying, they play e5, stop me from playing e5. So the bishop is not going to be able to open up. And now they can play bishop g5, or even maybe bishop g5 first, I think is playable. Yeah, here, as long as they throw an e5. And they are okay with the queen shifting around. So... that's not working, but it's fine. I'm just playing e5 and, cramping them a little bit more to take that off the table, and now this bishop unleashes. So they play f5, which I think is probably necessary, or else this is just going to win the game, right? You can keep developing, but then, yeah, I think something like this takes. Yeah, I win. What do they have here? They have, just de5. Interesting. Ah, now this is hanging. If queen takes h6. So, might be helpful to actually bring all your pieces into the game. You can imagine if my rook were on d1 here, then, okay, g takes h6 is not a big deal. If my rook's on d1, then d-file opening is actually to my favor. So, could have been helpful to play rook d1. But, okay, I didn't actually play bishop takes h6 yet. So f5 happens and he takes f6. I was not going to allow that pawn really to just sit there and block my diagonal. So he takes f6, bishop takes f6, and... okay, I do this, and it's actually not even objectively good. Okay. What can I say? Stockfish is a hater. No, I mean, okay, it probably wasn't good. But this is a situation where I've used the threats against their king to kind of send them scrambling. And playing rook d1, I mentioned this kind of during the game. I can just kind of play rook c1 or rook d1. And they've played knight h7. They've created weaknesses here. This position is just so pleasant for white. And, you can continue to attack, or whether it's king, whether it's the king or whether it's a weak pawn, you can continue to enjoy your position as a result of starting to look towards the enemy king from having a good center. I think that's kind of an instructive point. It might not be so instructive that I just took on h6. However, was this the only defense, rook to a7? And if so, then I think I'm vindicated. Let me see something. So I'm going to turn on multiple lines here. Let's see 3 lines. Look at that. Rook a7. Rook f7. Queen. Big difference, right? Between rook a7 and the second best move. Right? That's a situation, right? And there's a big difference between your opponent's best move and the second best move. As long as it's not like recapturing a queen. And that's really important. You want to put them in a situation where their move value is high, right? Because they're not going to find the best move every time. But if you, like, don't really cause them problems, and it's like, okay, am I going to develop my bishop to this square, or this square, or this square, right? Then the difference between that might be, like, 0.4 and 0.3. But if you are attacking them and putting pressure on them, and they have to keep finding defenses, that's what you want to be doing. So, you know, rook a7 was a findable move, I'm sure. And it makes a lot of sense, because you're using the queen or using the rook. I mean, anything makes sense after you've checked the engine. But I will say, you're using a piece for the same task that was otherwise doing completely nothing. That's kind of the key point here, right? You're choosing between here and here as a way to defend the knight, right? So the knight can't move, right? I just take it and checkmate. As a way to defend the knight, this queen could be useful somewhere else. This rook could be useful somewhere else. This rook will never be useful anywhere else, right? So rook a7 is the only good use for that rook. And you'll note it was their move next turn, but they just made one little blunder. And everything goes south for them, because this is kind of just a tough position to defend. Yeah, like I said here, like, nothing wrong with rook d1, and it also even just maybe now bishop takes h6 is probably better. Yeah, it just changed everything. I think the fact this bishop is actually in the way of rook a7 just changed everything. And the bishop's also not guarding e6. So, you know, nothing wrong with, if the sacrifice doesn't work and your position is good, right? If your position is bad and the sacrifice is your only chance of staying in the game, then go for it. But otherwise, you know, you should take... Think about what you're missing. You're going all in on a bishop sacrifice that has to work, right? So if it fizzles out, and think about what you're giving up. So I'm giving up, like, a very good position. So, you know, you should be sure that it works in a situation like this when you're giving up a good position. You know, I'm on stream, I'm having fun, so bishop takes h6, but you should be sure that it works. So maybe don't try this at home, but, you know, you can play a move like rook c1, rook d1, like rook c1 especially, with the pressure on that knight, probably encourages a move like this. And now with the 7th rank block, okay, bishop takes h6 works. That would have been a little smarter. Anyway, in the game, bishop takes h6 was played. Takes and queen takes h6. And queen d7. So queen to e7 played. Guarding here. And queen e7 makes a lot of sense. Also, I will say, so even if you saw rook a7, you still might choose queen to e7, because you want your next move to be queen to g7. Queen to g7 proposes a queen trade, which I absolutely do not want, but it also really, like, solidifies your king, right? I mean, it just kind of makes a lot of sense, because it drives this away with tempo. It even, maybe you can have some counter threats here. I would really understand why you want to put the queen on g7. The only issue for them is that I think I have this nice move rook e4. The engine's tripping. What, it's recommending a4? No. So it has this nice move rook e4. Okay, fine. I'll bite. What's the point of a4? a4, let's say just b4 even. Now rook e4. What is the big difference? Why did this matter? Okay, here's why it mattered. You have bishop to c4 check. Okay. I understand. So we play a4. It has the threat if queen g7, so now we can take it, and okay, we have enough here. This is pinned. The point is that you delay rook e4 for one move, that you play it in this position. Because black's best move here is e5 to guard the g4 square. But with the pawn now no longer on b5, I think you would have, like, bishop to c4 check in some line in the future. I think that's actually, honestly, the answer. Because here the move is an 83 jumping in. So that's honestly the answer. Total engine stuff. So rook e4, yeah, you can see e5 being the only good choice. So rook e4 is a good move, because queen g7, I have rook g4. And my pawn on h3 actually coming in handy. So it stops queen g7. And actually my biggest threat is what happened in the game. You can you maybe get a sense that, yeah, you need to fortify the 7th rank a little bit more, but actually check and bishop takes makes sense. Bishop to g7, was it playable? Because I blocked this a little bit, I think, but my queen probably has... Yeah, I just go rook g4, right? Okay, now I have 6, rook g5. We can just kind of hang out here. If I don't have enough to break through, maybe I can add... I can always add some more guys. Okay, knight e3, knight g4, make the knight get traded, and then use the h7 square. Then force king f7 and take this with that blocked. So, you know, I have no shortage of resources, and it's actually hard for them to bring in resources because they try to use the 7th rank to bring in resources, but now here comes rook g4 and this rook hanging at the end of that, which was my threat in this position anyway. So if they play bishop to d7 to try and defend that, okay, they're not losing immediately because bishop takes, queen takes, they can play with the rook defending. However, I see here, you know, now with the benefit of the engine on, again, nothing wrong with even just playing rook to d1 because white's position here is so nice, but to play knight h4, I think, is a nice little blow here because knight g6 can't be allowed. So now you need to take it, and allows the rook to come to h4. So we pressure here, I guess rook f7, and now we can add even more. I don't know. We can add just keep piling on. Keep piling on until they break. Bishop to d7 was one move they absolutely, I guess, needed to find. Something like that to not allow this. But in the game, yeah, rook a7 and allow this resource. So I think this is a pretty instructive example, starting from an Alapin and me trying to play a Yang Gambit, of what to do once you have a nice position, how to, you know, kind of look for an attack after that. So, yeah, Rookless starts getting things first. What about d5 instead of a4? Instead of a4. So we're talking about this position, yeah? Here, d5 here, yeah? It makes some sense, I guess, just an 85. Right, what do you do? I think we're just kind of in a similar position as before. And we don't want to trade if we don't have to, right? We don't want to trade. Like, this knight was potentially a good attacker for us, right? You know, it had some uses in these lines. You know, it's not a bad move making use of this pin, but, you know, no reason to trade if we don't have to. Better to just attack here because, you know, if we're going after it. I think the other point is that this knight is actually, like I said, it didn't materialize in this game, but it can be a very important tactical resource. The fact that that's unprotected, like bishop e4 can come with tempo somewhere, and, you know, that can make all the difference between like winning that knight, or, like, you know, the king is here and there's some check that, you know, that can make a huge difference in these lines. So I think that's actually a tactical asset for me here. Yeah, I mean, we can try to understand this engine move here. A4, it's saying rook b8. It's saying, like, you need to hold this pawn here. So b4, rook e4, e5, knight e3, queen g7, h5. Yeah, you have access to this square. You have this check, which can force the king here. And I guess it's just a very important... It's very important in some line. You know, we can really try to figure that out here. So rook e4, e5, knight e3. What if we played the same thing? Queen g7, queen h5. Oh, queen f7. So this is the point. Whereas if we had this position, queen f7 can't be played. Because now we have bishop c4 here, take, and d5, winning that. That is the point. It's so that in this position, like 6 moves into the future, wow, it's crazy how good an entity can be at chess. So it's because in this critical line, now if we play queen h6, they've played this important resource. So all they've done in the last 2 moves is they've played queen g7 and shifted the queen over to f7, so that now they can trade off over here. Wait, oh, like knight takes d4. I think now they pressure on f2. I think now they have pressure on f2. But if we started with a4, the point of this is that we had started with a4 before, just trying to understand this, then they would never be able to use that resource. So we'd be able to play an e3 here. Tough stuff, but it's easy to just dismiss this as just engine BS. I think this is important, though, because this is a move that I can just throw in. I have the luxury here. Like, it's not like it's one thing if rook e4 just won immediately, and then it wasn't even worth calculating anything else. It doesn't win immediately. Like, even if I play rook g4, check king h8, like the game's not over. So it's worth questioning, how can I maximize my position right here, right? And a4 comes totally with tempo. My rook is in a good spot, actually, for it. You know, I haven't played rook d1. We should make use of all our pieces. Like, it's an extremely tough move to find, but it's a move I can throw in for free. It has a threat of a takes b5, which black can't just allow, right? Even queen g7, like, even this is too good of an endgame here. I have a few pawns and potentially more coming, right? Okay, I'm also taking a6. So they can't just allow it. They need to react to this. All you see, all these top moves are reacting to this. So it's, if you see this, it's worth doing, right? If you see this idea and you're like, okay, is this position better than this position? And the answer is yes, because like maybe that's a useful square and I don't really see a downside. Then it's worth doing. And yeah, potentially here, like a check, like I said, could have proved useful here. You know, you don't have to necessarily calculate that whole line out to know a4 is a good idea, rather than just kind of, what do I have to lose, right? Sort of situation. Potentially, like, it's maybe a bad move if, like, you know, something like bishop b7 could have been incredibly useful for them. But okay, oh, I have rook takes e6 here, with the bishop no longer there, so that's funny. Yeah, interesting stuff. The big takeaway I wanted, and the reason why I wanted to analyze this game so much, was how to parlay a good position into a good attack. And I hope this was helpful in showing that. Am I playing viewers tonight? I would. It is super late, and tomorrow's actually a work day for me for the first time in a while. It's January 2nd now. It is 1:02 a.m. on the East Coast, and now January 2nd. So technically today, it is a work day. So yes, next time, subscribe. And if you want to play me, yeah, so subscribe. You guys are here on YouTube, and especially if this game goes on YouTube, please subscribe. To all the viewers, join the Discord community, both to people who are live and to people who are not live watching right now, so that you can also get notified when I go live and such, and when I post new videos. And just a really awesome community there, where we're all sharing our games and everything, and discussing our events and chess and life. So great stuff there. There's plenty more gambits, and there's plenty more attacking to be found. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you all. All right. Sorry to be so intimidating.